Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Today we're looking into something pretty chilling. It's a listener story about their time in a new apartment building. Seems safe, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, the source material is this detailed account they shared, laying out this sequence of just strange and ultimately frightening events happening right next door.
So our mission today really is to unpack this whole narrative. We'll look at the key moments, how the fear escalated, and the really disturbing discovery that came later.
It's a story that definitely shows how things aren't always what they seem, even in brand new places.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get into it. So this starts with you moving to Bangkok. You're about 18, 19 maybe, just starting university.
Right, and you needed somewhere to live near campus, obviously.
And the place you found sounded perfect, didn't it? A newly built, modern apartment building.
Yeah, that's a key point. It was new, not some old place with, a creepy history. This felt clean, safe, good security too.
Felt comforting initially.
Exactly. So you signed a 1-year lease, shared the apartment with a roommate, same uni, different faculty.
But your roommate wasn't around all the time, were they?
No, often busy with studies, projects, that kind of thing. So you often found yourself alone in the apartment, especially at night.
Which, thinking back, probably made everything feel a bit more intense later on.
Yeah.
Being alone.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, the apartment itself, it had this wide balcony. You could cook out there.
The view from there.
It faced an unfinished building across the way. You could see the windows over there. During the day, no curtains yet, so you could sort of see inside. But at night, they just reflected your building like dark mirrors.
Okay, reflective windows. Got it.
And one evening, you're out there cooking, looking across, and you see a reflection of someone on your building's balcony, the one right next door to yours.
What'd you see?
A tall, thin man just standing there, really still, facing the unfinished building.
Just standing. Weird. Was that it?
Well, then you kind of shifted your angle, tried to see better in the reflection, and you saw a second person standing right behind the first guy, almost like they were stacked.
Stacked. Okay, that's odder. What did you make of that at the time?
Honestly, didn't think too much of it. Just figured, neighbors hanging out, maybe a couple.
Right, the logical explanation.
Yeah, you even felt a little bit relieved, thinking, okay, people next door, if anything happens, maybe they could help.
A false sense of security setting in already. Because that simple assumption didn't last long, did it?
No, not at all. The first really disturbing night happens soon after. You woke up around 3 a.m., had to use the bathroom.
And you heard noises.
Yeah, loud noises coming from next door. That same room where you'd seen the reflection of the two figures.
What did it sound like at first?
Your first thought was just a couple arguing loudly. Typical apartment stuff. Annoying, but normal.
But it wasn't arguing.
No. As you listened closer, it was different. It was this rhythmic chanting, or singing, not Pali, maybe Khmer. It was forceful, really intense, like, The source described it as a Panyak chant, where the chanters seem almost possessed.
Whoa. Chanting. Okay, that's a huge shift from arguing. Was that the only sound?
No, you also heard laughter, occasional distinct laughter mixed in with the chanting.
Laughter with intense chanting. That's incredibly unsettling. 3 a.m.
Yeah, you felt goosebumps just break out all over. It was so disturbing you couldn't possibly sleep. Had to put on headphones, blast music, just try and drown it out.
I don't blame you. That sounds terrifying. It wasn't just noise, it felt wrong.
Exactly. So the next day, you go to class to try to push it out of your mind.
But then you came back to the building later that day, took the elevator up. Your floor was the 4th.
Yep, 4th floor. And just as the elevator doors were closing, this man gets in with you.
Okay.
He didn't press a button, so you just figured he was also going to the 4th floor.
And what was he like?
Well, first thing you noticed was the smell. Really strong, foul odor, like someone who hadn't bathed in ages.
Yeah.
And he was standing behind you, and you just felt weird. His presence felt strange. You kind of held your breath, just wishing the elevator would hurry up.
That primal sense of something's not right.
Yeah.
So you get to the 4th floor.
You get out quickly, and he follows you, stops right at the door next to yours.
The chanting room.
The chanting room. It was him, the neighbor.
Did you get a good look at him?
Yeah, as you were getting your key out, you glanced over. His face was incredibly thin, like skin and bones. Deep-set eyes, dark complexion. You thought he looked like a drug addict, or maybe really unwell.
And did he see you looking?
He seemed to. He turned towards you, and then he gave you this smile. Really wide, unsettling smile. Eyes wide open. And then his body started to shake, convulse.
He started shaking
Yeah.
while looking at you.
Yeah, it was incredibly creepy. Then he opened his door.
And you saw inside his room.
It's just a glimpse. But it was pitch black inside, even though it was daytime. The windows, they weren't just curtained, they had paper taped over them, blocking all the light.
Wow. Total darkness. And the smell.
As the door opened, yeah, that same foul smell just wafted out strongly from the dark room.
Okay, so gaunt, shaking guy, creepy smile, opens door to a dark, smelly room.
What did you do?
Ran into your room, locked the door like 3 times. You were properly scared. Your mind is racing drug addict, mental instability, whatever it was. You did not feel safe knowing he's right next door anymore.
That feeling of safety just completely evaporated.
Gone. Later that day, your roommate gets back
Yeah.
and tells you she's heading off to Chiang Mai for the weekend. Family stuff.
Oh no, so you're gonna be alone.
Exactly. And after that elevator encounter, you had to warn her. You told her about the strange guy next door, how he looked like an addict, seemed ill, told her just don't interact, be careful.
Did she seem worried?
She said she'd be careful, lock everything up,
Yeah.
and then she left.
Leaving you alone. That night must have been tense. Incredibly. And sure enough, just after midnight, maybe 12 a.m., the noises started again from next door.
The chanting.
No, this time it was different. And honestly, even worse.
Worse, how?
You heard a woman screaming and crying, saying over and over.
No.
And mixed with that, you heard 2 different male voices laughing. And one of them, seemed to be doing that chanting again.
Screaming, crying, chanting, and laughing. That is horrific. How long did it go on for?
About an hour, then it stopped.
You must have been absolutely petrified. Sleep was probably impossible.
Completely impossible, just terrified. Tried watching TV, reading, nothing worked.
It's chilling how the sounds evolved. From something ritualistic and strange to it sounded like active torment, like someone was genuinely suffering next door.
Exactly, that's what made it so much worse. After that night, though, things went quiet again. For several nights.
Really? Silence.
Yeah. You were actually ready to go down and complain to building management, needy, they call it if it started again, but nothing. You'd even turn your TV down, listen. Silence from next door.
Did your roommate hear anything when she got back?
Nope. You asked her, she said she hadn't heard a thing, not while you were gone or since she'd been back alone for a bit.
So this quiet period, maybe you started to think it was over. A one-off horrible incident.
Kind of. Yeah, you started to relax a little. Time passed, semester break was coming up. Maybe the problem just went away.
That false sense of security creeping back in.
Until one night, you'd been working overtime, got back to the building really late, like 2 a.m.
Okay, late night return, elevator up to the 4th floor.
Get off the elevator, start walking down the hall towards your room, and you hear shuffling, slipper sounds.
From one of the rooms.
No, behind you, following you down the hallway.
But you were alone.
Looked back, nobody there, empty hallway. But the shuffling continued.
Okay, that's nightmare fuel right there. An unseen follower.
And it got faster when you walked faster. It sounded like someone was actually running behind you.
Chasing you.
Felt like it. You get to your door, fumbling with the key, hands shaking. And then you feel it.
Feel what?
This blast of cold air right near your ear. And then, the smell.
The foul smell.
That exact same foul smell. From the man in the elevator, it was like someone was standing right behind you, breathing on your neck.
Oh, that's terrifying. The
Yeah.
smell connects it directly back to him.
Your hands were shaking so bad, but you finally got the key in, threw the door open, rushed inside, slammed it shut, locked it.
Yeah.
Deadbolts, chain, everything.
What did that do to you, that experience?
That was it. Final straw. Couldn't sleep a wink, obviously. You just knew you could not stay there anymore. Spent the rest of the night just praying.
That intense fear, making you decide right then and there to leave, it tells you how bad it was.
Absolutely. First thing next morning, you call your roommate, like begging her to come back. You can't be alone there. Turns out, luckily, she was already on her way back to Bangkok anyway.
But you couldn't even wait for her.
Nope. Felt impossible. You packed a bag super quick, called your part-time job, said you needed a few days off, and just went home to Lampang. Had to get out.
The temporary escape.
Yeah.
But the story wasn't done with you.
Far from it. You're home for maybe 2 days. Then, early one morning, your roommate calls. And she sounds panicked. Really urgent.
What did she say?
She said she was moving out. Like, today. Right now. She wasn't staying another night.
Wow. So sudden. After she said she hadn't heard anything, how did you react?
You were shocked. confused, a bit angry, honestly, because now you're left scrambling for a new roommate, right?
Yeah, that puts you in a tough spot.
So you decided, okay, I have to go back, find out what happened, why she's suddenly bailing.
And when you got back to the apartment?
Empty, she was gone. All her stuff moved out in a massive rush, left the place kind of messy even.
So you're alone again, back in the apartment that terrifies you.
Yep, and that night, the fear just ramped up again. You had this dream, so vivid, terrifying.
What was the dream?
It was him, the thin, dark man from next door. In your dream, he opened your bedroom door, walked over to your bed, just stared down at you, eyes bulging, and then he yelled, "Don't you interfere in my business!"
That phrase, "don't interfere in my business."
Yeah.
That's specific.
You woke up instantly, heart pounding. Checked the door locked tight. It had to be a dream, right? Fear-induced nightmare. But it felt so incredibly real.
A nightmare is bad enough, but did anything else happen?
Oh, yeah. Around 2 a.m., you're just lying there, probably on your phone, trying to stay awake. And you hear it again, pounding from next door. Then the chanting started up again.
Pounding and chanting. It's
Yeah.
back.
Yes, you covered your ears trying to block it out, but then the smell returned.
Not again.
But this time, it wasn't just in the air. It felt like it was coming through your nose, even with ears covered. You started trying to figure out where it was strongest.
And where was it?
The wall behind your bed's headboard, the shared wall with his room. The smell was literally seeping out of the wall.
Okay,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be possible. Smell doesn't just come through a solid wall like that.
Exactly, and that's when this deep, horrible dread just washed over you. You knew something was fundamentally, horribly wrong next door. And it felt linked to the dream, to that warning. You dragged your bed away from the wall, prayed again, all night.
That detail, the smell through the wall, it crosses a line, doesn't it? From scary neighbor to something violating your space in an impossible way.
Definitely. So next morning, enough is enough, you go straight down to Nidhi, the building management.
To complain again.
Yes, you told them everything, the foul smell, the chanting, the pounding. You said, look, if this isn't sorted, I'm moving out. I don't care about the deposit.
What did Dee Dee say this time?
They looked surprised. And then they told you something stunning. You were the third person that day complaining about the smell from that room.
Third person. Okay, so it wasn't just you. Others were smelling it too. Did they mention the sounds?
You asked, you said, did anyone else hear chanting? They said no, not chanting specifically, but other tenants had reported hearing pounding noises and arguing sounds.
Arguing, like you first thought.
Yeah, and you confirmed, yes, you'd heard stuff that sounded like arguing too, especially that night with the woman screaming, "Enough."
Okay, multiple smell complaints, multiple noise complaints. Nidhi had to act now.
They did. They decided they had to investigate the room. Staff member, security guard, they go up to the room next door. Knock, knock, knock. No answer.
And other people noticed.
Yeah, other tenants on the floor started coming out of the rooms watching.
Did Nidhi ask them about the occupant?
Uh-huh. Asked if anyone had seen the guy living there, and multiple people said yes. They described the same thin man, looking like an addict, maybe mentally ill. Some had seen him recently, some not so recently. But the description matched yours. You confirmed it too.
So, consensus on the occupant. But he's not answering.
Right. So Nidhi gets the spare key. They decide to open the door.
What happened when they unlocked it?
The second the door started to open, cockroach eggs, hundreds of them just fell out from the door frame.
Gross.
And the smell hit them. Foul, musty, way worse than before. There was this sticky, yellowish liquid on the floor near the door. People were backing away, whispering dead body because the smell was so intense.
I can imagine.
So
They went in. Security guard went first, managed to get to the windows and rip off the paper and curtains covering them, let some light in.
and when they could see, what did they find?
Everyone was just stunned. The inside was deeply disturbing.
Oh, so.
Big clumps of hair on the floor,
Sure.
black feathers like from a bird, red threads scattered around, candles in the middle of the room. It screamed ritual. Oh my God, the source said.
Ritual evidence? Anything else?
Patches on the floor looked like old bloodstains, not cleaned up. The whole place was just chaos, messy.
You mentioned an altar before.
There was one, but no Buddha statue. It had these other deities offering bowls, sacred thread. They could though. And yeah, they found drug stuff too. Paraphernalia. Okay, ritual items, blood, drugs. But what was weird about the condition?
Everything was covered in a thick layer of dust. Like
Okay.
nobody had actually lived there for a very long time.
Wait, People just saw him. Meaty saw him in the elevator. How could it be dusty like that?
Exactly. That's the contradiction. And the bathroom.
What about the bathroom?
Inside the toilet bowl, just crammed full of hair, looked like shaved hair, maybe mixed with bits of scalp.
Okay. Scalp. Oh, that's gruesome. Okay, so you've got this horrific scene. Rituals, blood, hair, scalp, drugs, overpowering smell. Everyone must have been braced to find a body, right?
That was the expectation. But here's the biggest shock.
What?
There was no body.
Nobody. At all.
None. Despite everything pointing to death or something truly awful having happened there, the room was empty of corpses.
Wow. The source said that was almost more shocking than finding one.
Exactly, because it made no sense. Left everyone just bewildered.
So let me get this straight. Ritual room smells like death. Recently seen occupant confirmed by multiple people, including staff. But inside, it looks untouched for ages, dusty, and crucially, no body.
Meaty was baffled. They'd seen the guy. So they did the next logical thing. They contacted the family listed on the lease agreement.
And that's when the truth came out.
The horrifying truth. The person whose name was on the lease, the one who signed for the room, he had died 2 months ago.
Died 2 months prior.
May.
But who were people seeing?
That's the chilling part. The dead leaseholder hadn't lived alone. He lived there with a couple, possibly relatives. The husband had a criminal record, the wife, a known drug addict, and their current whereabouts, unknown.
Okay, so a deceased leaseholder, potentially dangerous couple living there, involved in drugs, crime, maybe connected to the rituals.
And suddenly, it all clicked into place for you. The sounds, the smell through the wall, the dream with the warning, the presence in the hall. Hearing the leaseholder was dead confirmed your worst fears. You had been dealing with hauntings, likely tied to the dead guy, maybe the couple, maybe whatever they were doing in that room.
A terrifying mix of the paranormal and very real human danger.
You didn't need to hear anymore. You were out. Moved out that very same day. Forget the deposit, you just had to escape.
I completely understand that reaction. But what about your roommate? Why did she leave in such a panic? Did you find out?
Yeah, later on, you bumped into her, and you asked her straight up, why did you just leave like that?
Yeah.
Her story. It was just as terrifying. That first night she was alone, after you'd gone home, she woke up
Yep.
and saw 3 figures standing at the foot of her bed.
3 figures, not just a man.
3, and they yelled at her. The exact same words from your dream. Don't you interfere in our business.
No way. The same phrase to her from 3 figures. That's independent corroboration. Chilling.
It happened to her 2 nights in a row. That's why she fled. Just pure terror.
Unbelievable. So you both had these targeted, terrifying experiences.
Right.
And the building itself, what happened to it in the end?
Well, the listener mentioned that this seemingly new building, it was demolished later on.
Demolished. Why?
Officially, the owner said economic reasons, but the speculation is strong. It was probably because of all the strangeness, the hauntings, especially since floors 3 and 4 apparently emptied out pretty fast after all this went down.
Wow. So this place, meant to be safe and new, became so toxic, so filled with whatever that was, that it essentially died. They had to tear it down.
It's a really stark ending, and thinking about this, connecting it back to what we do, looking at information, this story is such a potent example of trying to make sense of fragmented, terrifying crews.
Absolutely. You start with something simple, neighbors, then sounds that don't fit chanting, then a disturbing person, then impossible events, smells through walls, shared nightmares, figures appearing.
And the physical evidence is just as confusing. The ritual room, yes, but the dust contradicts the sightings, and the lack of a body contradicts the smell and the state of the room.
It forces you to piece together sensory input, fear, logic, other people's accounts, physical clues, all to uncover a reality that's just so much darker and stranger than you could have guessed.
It really shows how, even in a place that feels secure, these hidden, maybe overlapping realities, human crime, addiction, ritual, and perhaps something genuinely supernatural can just burst through.
What really grabs me is that contrast.
Yeah.
The modern building versus the ancient feeling darkness of the rituals. And the ambiguity. Was it the ghost? The couple? Both? Something else stirred up. We just don't know for sure.
And the fact that multiple people experienced key elements, the smell, the sounds, the figures, that specific warning phrase, that makes it incredibly hard to dismiss.
So wrapping up this deep dive, your experience spiraled from weird neighbors to uncovering this nexus of dark rituals, crime, addiction, death, and haunting, ultimately leading to the building's own demise.
It leaves us with a really unsettling thought, doesn't it? When that line between human evil and the potentially supernatural gets completely blurred, and it's happening right next door in a place you thought was safe. How do you even begin to understand the threat? How do you protect yourself when even the evidence gives you contradictions instead of answers?
A truly disturbing question. Thank you for going on this deep dive with us.